January 1st is not a reset. It is a continuation. The man who crosses midnight with the same 10 patterns running is the same man on the 2nd, the 3rd, the 14th, until the familiar friction of reality against unchanged behavior produces the familiar result. The year looks, by February, exactly like the one before it. The new year does not create the change. The change creates a different new year. And the change is available now. Not on January 1st, not after the celebration, not when the timing feels right now. In the days remaining before the year turns, the 10 mistakes on this list are the ones most likely to walk with you into 2026, unchanged unless they are named, faced, and addressed before the clock resets. Thor crossed into his hardest year, having lost everything that had defined him. Not just the hammer, the identity built around the hammer. What he discovered on the other side was not that the loss had been necessary. It was that the patterns he had been carrying into every previous year had been the actual obstacle, and that crossing into a new chapter without addressing them was precisely how every previous chapter had ended the same way. Here are the 10 mistakes. Name the ones that are yours. Fix them before January arrives. Mistake 1. Measuring progress by intention rather than output. You intended to build the thing, you planned it, described it, thought about it seriously, but the thing does not exist in any more complete form than it did 12 months ago. Intention without output is not progress. It is rehearsal. 2026 requires an output metric, not an intention metric. Name it before January 1st. Mistake 2. Letting the phone govern the first hour of every day. The first hour consumed by reactive input, messages, feed, news, is the first hour the day directed itself rather than you directing it. Every day that begins this way begins with your attention already spoken for. One structural change tonight. The phone stays across the room until the first important thing is done. That one change restructures every morning that follows it. Mistake 3. Spending energy managing other people's perceptions of your progress rather than making progress. The posts about the work, the updates about the process. The energy spent performing effort rather than applying it. What was built in 2025 should be visible in what exists, not in how the building was described while it was happening. Close the performance loop. Open the building loop. Mistake 4. Carrying the same unresolved financial position into another year. No budget, no net worth calculated, no automation of even the smallest investment, no honest accounting of where the money actually goes. The financial position does not improve by accident across 12 months. It improves through 3 specific weekly behaviors installed before the year begins. If those 3 behaviors are not in place tonight, they will not be in place by February. Stay with mistakes. 5 through 10. The first 4 are structural. What comes next is where most people lose the year before March, and mistake 8 is the one carried silently by almost every man who watches this channel and almost never named out loud. Mistake 5. Building a schedule that requires perfect conditions to function. The schedule that collapses every Tuesday because one block slipped. The color-coded week that looks solid and isn't because it was built for the ideal version of the week rather than the actual one. The fix is one protected priority per day, non-negotiable, everything else flexible around it. That structure survives contact with the real week. The elaborate one does not. Mistake 6. Treating sleep as the variable that gets cut when the day runs over. Every hour sacrificed to extend a depleted session is an hour that removes the next day's cognitive capacity. The man who sleeps consistently performs better across the week than the man who sleeps variably and compensates with caffeine. Sleep is not the reward at the end of a disciplined day. It is the non-negotiable condition under which every disciplined day is possible. Set the bedtime before you set any other commitment for 2026. Mistake 7. Starting 2026 with the same unaddressed open loops that started 2025. The conversation that was never had. The decision that was never made. The commitment that was made and broken and never honestly accounted for. Every open loop running into the new year is a background drain on the energy that 2026 requires for building. One evening before January 1st, write every open loop. Make a decision, do it, schedule it, or consciously release it. Enter the year with the list closed. Mistake 8. Knowing what needs to change and not changing it. Because the knowledge alone feels like action. You know the habit. You have known it for months. You have thought about it seriously, researched it, maybe even watched videos about it. But the behavior has not changed. The knowledge accumulated as a substitute for the behavior rather than as a precursor to it. Knowledge that does not become behavior is not progress. It is a more sophisticated form of the same avoidance. The behavior starts tonight, or the knowledge joins the list of things understood and not applied. Mistake 9. Waiting for motivation to begin instead of beginning to find motivation. Motivation follows action more reliably than it precedes it. The man who waits to feel ready before beginning the important thing will wait through 2026, the same way he waited through 2025. The man who begins before he feels ready discovers that the readiness arrives in the doing rather than before it. Begin before January 1st. Begin before this video ends. Begin with the smallest possible step. The motivation is downstream of that step, not upstream of it. Mistake 10. Entering 2026 without a single non-negotiable daily commitment. Not a list of resolutions. One behavior named precisely, timed specifically, non-negotiable regardless of conditions. The man with one non-negotiable daily commitment that he holds throughout January has a different February than the man who entered January with 17 resolutions and held none. One thing, specific, daily, non-negotiable, written down before midnight on December 31st. That is the entire architecture of a different year. You came into this expecting a list of things to add to January, new habits to install, new systems to build, new commitments to make after the reset. Every mistake on this list is something to stop carrying into the new year, not something to add. The 10 things removed before January 1st create more space for 2026 than 10 new resolutions added to the same patterns that produced 2025. Thor did not build something new by finding better tools. He built something new by stopping carrying the tools that no longer served what he was building. The removal is the preparation. The new year is the build. But removal before January 1st is what makes the build different from every previous year's attempt. Tonight, not January 1st, tonight, identify the 3 mistakes from this list that are most structurally embedded in your current daily life. The ones that, if carried unchanged into 2026, would most reliably produce the same result as 2025. Name them. Write them in one sentence each. Then write one specific behavioral change for each, not a resolution, a behavior. What stops, what starts, what is installed before January arrives. 3 sentences, 3 changes. Written before this video closes. Thor did not enter his hardest year carrying the patterns that had defined every year before it. The loss stripped them. You do not need the loss. You have the list. You have tonight. 3 mistakes named, 3 changes written. 3 behaviors beginning before January 1st gets here and finds you exactly where December found you. January 1st does not reset anything. The man who crosses midnight unchanged arrives at February unchanged. Fix the patterns before the clock turns. The year changes when the patterns do. 3 mistakes. Tonight, before January arrives with its false promise of the reset. The reset is not the date. The reset is the decision. Make the decision tonight. One question. Which of the 10 mistakes, name the number, is the one you have been carrying longest without addressing it? Drop it in the comments. That number is the first change to make tonight, not in January, tonight, before the year turns and the same pattern crosses the threshold with you. If this named what needs to change before January, subscribe. More of this. The year changes when the patterns do. Start tonight.